Fashion Promotions proudly presents Out of Fashion TV.
Out of Fashion TV. Well, hello everybody and welcome to Out of Fashion TV. It's been a while. Hope everybody is fine. I thought I'd try something different today, but still on the same concept of artists supporting artists, also other creative people. And with me today, I've got my close friend Squid Hers, all the way from up north.
Hey, how we doing?
There she is.
First of all, thanks for the opportunity, for taking the time to want to interview me. It means a lot. So, my online presence is known as Squidpot. I do have like a little nickname of Squid Hers as well. Basically, what I do, I print customised gifts and so on. So you're looking at things like printed mugs, cushions, t-shirts, printed artwork for framing, photo slates, key rings and other little bits and bobs.
If you don't mind me asking, how long have you been doing that for?
Since 2017.
2017?
Yeah, November 2017 I started, so you're looking at almost 8 years.
Are you still doing that now?
Yeah. It's still my only job.
Is there anything else that you're working on whilst you're doing that?
Yeah, so I made a journal that I published on Amazon called Gratitude, Growth, Focus, around well-being. And I'm also working on another journal that's still along the same lines as well-being and stuff, but the content's gonna be, switched up a bit. It's gonna have a different theme to it and colour palette and stuff like that.
How do you think the journals are doing, the ones that you've got on Amazon? Could you tell me a bit more about them?
I've published the first and only one journal that I have on Amazon in December. I do have some notepads that I've got on there as well with my artwork on the front, and it's got the insides of lines and dots and stuff. But in terms of an actual full-blown content book, the only one I've got at the moment is the Gratitude, Growth, Focus. And it was quite well received. It was quite surprising for me. I'd set the bar quite low, so that if you set the bar low, then you're not as disappointed, kind of thing.
No expectations, no disappointments.
Exactly, but it went quite well. I set myself a goal of selling 5 in a year, which might sound ridiculously small and almost laughable, but we've got to bear in mind that I'm an unknown person on the whole, and I'm a very small business who works from home. So with those factors in mind, it's always going to be harder to have a well-selling, because no matter who you are, you've got to put the effort in and the marketing in and everything, which I'm quite sort of like low on funds, to be doing, to be paying a lot of places to advertise and whatnot. So I solely rely on the community online, such as my friends that I've made from, say, being on TikTok and my loyal customers to sort of spread the word and share for me and things like that. And it went pretty well in December. I think I sold around 14 copies.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I was quite surprised.
Could you elaborate more about being an unknown creator?
Well, what I mean by that is I'm not trying to classify myself as a nobody or anything like that, but in the scheme of things, I'm not like a household name. You've got people that publish books that everybody knows. As soon as they hear their names, it's like they know instantly who they are and what works they're known for. And it's just my way of saying that because I'm I work from home, small business, it's actually also something quite new to me, because previously I wasn't creating books and stuff like that. It was always just creating stuff to print up. So it was quite a different realm for me to have explored. So it's just my way of saying that, if you say to like a room full of 10 people, have you ever heard of Squidpot? The chances are nobody's going to have heard of me because, that's just how it works. I'm just being realistic.
Yeah. And it's good to be realistic. It's the same as setting the bar low, as you said. Also, you said you're working on a new journal at the moment. Would you like to tell us more about that one?
So yeah, I've not got a title for it as yet, but I do know exactly what sort of theme it's going to be about, and I've got loads of ideas jotted down for content, and I've already started working on the pages for it. So it's going to have some mindful colouring pages that's going to be themed all around nature, and it's got like an allotment stroke gardening theme to it, but don't want people to get confused with that or feel bored, I'm not into gardening, that's not going to be for me. That's just the theme that I've extracted to make it work for the whole finished piece. It does not mean it's aimed at just people that are green fingered.
So you mean it's quite a spiritual thing?
You could say that, yeah. It's basically like, it's good to have a theme when you're doing something and keep that theme consistent so that, you're not putting something out there that seems a bit all over the shop, whether that be that, there's a consistent colour going through the book, if you're using the complementary colours or something. For me, it's I felt like, using the theme, converting traditional gardening and nature to terminologies and things like that into sort of like giving it a double meaning. So like, for instance, I might put a watering can with some water coming out of it, and on the page it may well say about how to feed your growth. And what that means is, it doesn't mean literally the soil and a seed in the ground. It means your own personal growth.
Yeah. That makes sense, yes.
I'm not sure if the right word would be metaphorically or hypothetically. I feel like one of them words is right, but I'm not sure which one.
And when it comes to the spiritual kind of stuff, and also any other creators or artists before you, who would you say your influences are, or what are your influences?
There's so many. I could be here all day, but Banksy, I love his artworks. Who else? There's the Melting Clocks guy. I'm forgetting his name now.
Dali.
Yes, that's it. Yes. And I can see lots of artworks flying through my head, and I can't think of the names now that you've put me on the spot. Nobody was like, I must stress that, like, I feel like I've got my own art style, and I don't feel like if someone sees my art style, it will remind them of a particular artist already out there, I'd like to think. I suppose the way that I'm going at the moment could be seen as quite whimsical.
Whimsical, okay. Would you like to elaborate on that word a bit more?
Well, I mean, it's just a style that it's almost got like an inky kind of feel to it, and when it comes to the I wouldn't quite say childlike drawings, because they're a notch above childlike, but they're quite simplified. And also when I've done some lives on social media colouring them in digitally, because it's all done on my iPad, I must say as well. Digitally I draw it. I use quite striking colours, which would kind of like remind somebody of like a whimsical feel.
Right. Okay. Could you tell us more about how you create your artwork and especially the journals?
So, I mean, I've got several different methods that I do depending on what I'm doing. You know, if I'm printing a mug, like, you know, there's different software for that. I've got kind of like different methods for different things. But in terms of creating the artworks and the pages for the journals and so on, or say I'm creating an arty piece to print on a mug, or for someone to put in a frame or a greeting card, all of the majority I can say is done on my iPad, hand drawn. So think of it like pencil to paper and brushes and paints, but instead of using physical brushes and pens and paints and paper or canvas, you're just using, you know, an app and the digital, you know, like the pen that you use with it, and it's just simulating. It's just a different way of drawing and doing art.
Okay. I know that our viewers are different generations, different age gaps. So I was just thinking, what advice would you give to the generation who are perhaps in their 60s plus, who don't really have a clue how to use an iPad or a phone or an app, and they want to do the same thing as you?
I'd say research online as much as possible. Watch a lot of excuse me. There's plenty of tutorials out there online that will visually show you and talk you through it. I'm not having any specific people in my mind to say, you know, go and follow so and so, because I've always been a person that will watch a couple of random videos, forget who did them, and then kind of like learn myself, teach myself, you know, self-explanatory. What happens if I press this button type of thing. But for somebody that's a bit of a technophobe and might be a bit frightened about, you know, going in head first, I'd just say don't be frightened if you can. Just, you know, go into it and, you know, watch as many tutorials online as you can to do with digital drawing and painting and so on, and also don't give up at the first hurdle. You're not likely to like or even enjoy what you're doing for the first so many, maybe even weeks, because you know, you're basically teaching yourself new motor skills in terms of like putting a pen against a screen which has got like a slight slip to it. So, you know, that's not traditional. Our brains are not reminded, you know, of how to actually go ahead and do that. So what I would say is, for me, I also a very good investment for me was buying a paper type field cover, and it's just like a traditional thing that you'd put on, say, your phone, you know, when you put like a screen protector on to try and, you know, if you dropped your phone and you get a crack in the glass, you know, you'd put a screen protector on to avoid that happening, right? It's just basically like one of them, but it's got like a very ever so slight sort of grainy, mottly feel to it, which is supposed to simulate the texture of paper. And for me, it was a game changer, because if I hadn't have put that on, I would have most certainly just thrown the towel in and said, this is it, my art's, you know, it's crap. I wasn't liking what I was seeing. The pen was slipping everywhere and it just wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. I didn't have the same control as I would have had if I had, say, a pencil or a brush in my hand. So for anybody of any age, not just the older gen, Anybody who's new to it or a bit scared, I would say, you know, get one of them covers, because it'll probably save you a lot of self-criticism, shall we say.
Well, I've thought about using Procreate myself and apps like that, but I'm quite old school for a woman in her 40s, and I'm doing doodles on paper and that. So when you said about that screen thing, I was just like, oh, so that's how it's done.
Well,
So,
for me, it's how it's done. But for some people, they might not want that screen on. They might perfectly, you know, be able to go straight ahead and just get the job done in it, and they might enjoy what they see. For me, who always needs a little guiding hand, usually in life with stuff, you know, if there's something there to make the job easier, quite often I'm there to try and, you know, use it. For me, it was an absolute game changer, because I was at the point where I was going to literally say, right, I've given it everything now and it's just not for me, until, you know, that was the kind of like light bulb moment. Right, okay, let's give it a go. And it was the best £9 I ever spent.
£9?
It was something like £9, yeah. I mean, the market's littered with different brands of them. You can buy them for all kinds of different prices, but quite often you get 2 or 3 for under a tenner.
Okay. How do I ask this? So you're someone who uses this app Procreate, and I'm someone who doesn't use Procreate, and I use the old school way. Maybe you could tell our viewers, like, 3 things that you could do with Procreate that you can't do when you're doing it. So, for example, if you did it just straight on paper with and paints and stuff like that. So
if you're traditionally going straight in on canvas, say with your brush loaded with red on, and you've put too much red on the canvas, to lift that red off, it's going to be either not. I'm not going to say impossible, but it's going to be bothersome, right? To get that paint off the canvas, and quite often most people would just paint over it again, so that we could cover up the mistake. I know someone on TikTok that does that quite a lot. I think you might as well. Okay. So basically, so basically, right, when you're on the iPad, you can just delete and try again. So, you know, and there's no sort of like fragment of that left. You know, if you've done a mistake, you can go back and redo it without you ever knowing. The other thing is that you can almost, you know, the list is endless in terms of brushes and textures and things that you can find. It already comes with a set amount of brushes and stuff and pens and stuff to get you going. But online you can quite often, for a very small price, either purchase some brushes to install off someone else, or there's plenty of websites that'll offer them for free as a download. So, you know, if you wanted to do sort of like something with loads of dots, say for example, to mimic, say, like the old comics, like a pop art type feel, you know, there'd be a brush for that. And obviously you've got limitations when you're doing it the traditional way, because, you know, if you wanted to draw loads of dots, you know, to my knowledge, I don't think there's a brush out there that's got, like, you know, a brush with like several heads on it to do several dots at once. It takes some time, so, you know, it's just more efficient and quicker doing it digitally.
Yeah.
But it's not cheating or anything, I must stress. I'm not saying anybody said it is, but some people I can understand would have the forethought of, well, it's not the same as traditional art, so therefore, you know, it's not real art or it's cheating. Well, no, actually it is art, because you are still doing the manoeuvres with your hand. You're still having to tell that pen where to go. You're still having to think about things, and you know, it's not Photoshop where, you know, you click a button and it just magically makes something happen. You're still doing the work. You still got that muscle memory going on, you know.
Yeah, I have to say, hand manoeuvre sounds like a Mexican thing.
Well, yeah, you know, it could be. Depends on how far you want to take the art, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know there's a few piss artists out there, and you're not one of them. I'm glad that you brought that up, because I knew I had to say this eventually. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
The rise of AI.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you feel about the rise of AI?
Well, I feel like AI is an absolutely valuable tool, but let me stress, tool. I don't ever want it to be, or I don't see it as a replacement. I don't want it replacing humans, and I don't think it should be used so much that, you know, one could get carried away with just interacting and doing everything AI based, and that can lose a lot of human connections. Let's not forget that AI hasn't got emotions either. They've not got all the stuff that humans are born with and learn over time. It's basically like one big brain to me, is AI. It's like for me, I see it as one big brain. You know, and if you want to ask a question and get an answer, great, go for it. It's great for stuff like that. But in terms of creating artwork, again, AI can create some magnificent pieces of looking art, but I feel like that needs to be definitely, if there's a community of people that want to do that kind of thing, like long term, or, you know, what I'm trying to get at is nobody should be ever pretending to have done the art themselves and then pushing out AI work, because for artists like ourselves, we put a lot of hours into our works, and if somebody else can sort of like get quite famous and, you know, earn quite a lot of money through just something that took 5 seconds to do, I find that quite morally wrong.
Yeah, so do I.
And, you know, I must say as well that I get a little bit concerned about that if people are so used to being able to get AI to do so much for them, artists are going to lose out on jobs, simply because people are not going to commission them as much, because they're going to be like, well, I want like an elephant holding a tangerine under a Thai sunset, for instance, and in seconds they can get it. They can tweak it, they can, you know, prompt it and get it to exactly how they look. Whereas before AI, somebody to have that vision would have had to have physically paid somebody to come up with that and like get it as a painting, or, you know, get it sketched out or wherever. People that ask for logos being done for the businesses, you know, they would go to somebody like maybe myself and say, can you create me a logo? But, you know, there's a lot of like, you know, again, AI can do that. There's also websites that do a very basic freebie version too, usually watermarked, I must add, but I feel like, you know, it is definitely taking over, but I think the only people that can stop it taking over is basically us that are using it, because we all to some degree do use it. I think we just need to limit the use of it so that it's not replacing people or jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Have you noticed anything with your own business since AI came along, or has it just been the same?
I mean, I've never really thought about it, to be honest, because my business has been, like, on the whole, quite quiet for some time.
Right.
I wouldn't have put it down to AI being the reason. So on that one, I can't say that, you know, AI is at fault for me not getting many orders, because I just don't think that would be relevant.
Okay. Thank you for answering that rather serious trending question. I'm going to take a break from asking questions for a while because we've had one of our viewers would like to ask a question. Her name is Margaret Fordham, and she's from Maidstone in Kent. And she'd like to know, do you think your area is a supportive place for creative people and small businesses like yourself?
Good question, Margaret. I feel like it's probably got elements of supportiveness, but you know, where I come from, the part of Yorkshire I come from, it does have quite a lot of craft fairs on here and there, and local small artists supporting other small artists and so on. Like for instance, there's a shop in town that sells all handmade goods, and it's not just from one person. So anyone who creates stuff could go in there, say, have a word with him, tell him what it is they're doing, and if he likes the idea, he can say, you know, yeah, I'd like to stock that. I've sold a few mugs to him before with his designs.
Okay.
So that's always a lovely thing, because I see it as, you know, obviously that shop is only about all the goods in that shop is just literally all handmade from somebody just like myself, just like you. So, you know, there's a lot to be said for being able to support somebody and all those lovely makes from a shop made by people who spent time and effort, you know, and love, as opposed to just a machine that can, you know, just whip out, you know, 10 of the same things within 10 minutes.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's probably a lot more support out there locally than I realise, but being agoraphobic doesn't help as well, so I don't really get out, and I don't go to the much needed events that I should be, you know, popping up and showing my face in, because you know, having the agoraphobia, it's hard for me to get out the door, and then when I do get out the door, full-blown panic sets in because of, you know, I have the anxiety there, and so it's a little bit of a catch-22 for me. For somebody else that didn't have the issues I have might find it a ton more supportive, because they've probably explored a lot more than I have, because they've been in a position to potentially do so. Does that answer the question? Sorry.
Yeah, thank you for being willing to share more about your how do you say it again?
Agoraphobia.
Agoraphobia. So thank you for that. Because you know, I for one don't want anybody to feel suppressed or oppressed about what they're going through with their life, and you know, for you to share that is very helpful to raise awareness. So thank you very much.
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, I've never been anybody really that sugarcoats, you know, the reality of life, and sometimes that can be a brilliant thing, because you know, being authentic is a great thing to do, but at the same time, you know, it's not going to be for everybody. But I'd rather much say it as it is. I don't ever want anybody to, you know, get the impression that, you know, I've got this luxury car and I go on 5 holidays a year and own my own house, because that's not the case whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, we're coming to an end now with this interview. So thank you very much. 2 more questions. What are your business goals for Squidpot this week?
This week is to do as many bits towards the new journal that I'm designing as I can. Potentially fit in going live on social media, so that kind of like shows people who I am and raise awareness of my brand. It'd be nice to have a goal with being able to say I'd love to do X amount of orders, but as currently it stands, I think setting even a goal of 1 would be a big task.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where can people find you on social media, and how are you feeling about your social media presence as well?
So my main active area to find me on is TikTok as Squidpot /Squid Hers. I do have a dedicated website with my goods on as well that people can order from, www.squidpot.com. I'm also on Etsy, another handmade marketplace that serves all around the world. And did you say how do I feel like it's going for me? Did you?
How do you feel it's going for you? The social media presence.
It can be hit and miss, and I think anyone can say that. I don't think there's any sort of like there's no sort of right answer to it. 1 week it could be I feel like I'm getting all the views that I want, and I'm getting a lot of engagement, and things seem to be going on the up. But then the week after can be such a different tale, and I don't think it's a case of doing anything wrong. I think it's just a nature of algorithms in the way social platforms set themselves out, and and at the end of the day, as much as it's not what anyone really wants to hear, there will the people that own these businesses that we put ourselves on are always gonna want to push the people that are bringing the money in for them.
Yeah, you're right.
So as a small time person, it's easy to get lost in that big digital sea,
Yeah, you're not wrong there. What was that brings me on to the last question. What advice would you give to other creators who use social media to try and get their work and their career out there?
I'd say keep optimistic with it. Don't try and be realistic, and try to stay focused as much as you can. And as this sounds a little bit hypocritical coming from myself, who sometimes does focus on poor performing posts and say how come I'm not reaching more than that and stuff. But try not to get obsessed with numbers too much. Don't think about should I or shouldn't I post that. Create the best video you can with the best lighting, using what's available to you. Get creative, post it, and just see how it goes. But just know that in order to get anywhere fast, a lot of work is usually required, and sometimes people just do have the luck. Don't live under a false pretense of I'm going to make it overnight on there, and be sort of like all egoist and stuff, because I'm telling you now, you'll probably, if you're going with that attitude, you'll probably, you'll be brought down to earth pretty fast.
Yeah.
And I'm just being realistic. I'm not being nasty. It's not me having a go at anybody. Aim big. If you've got goals, dreams and passions, go for it, and don't stop until you feel happy that you're there. But I want to be realistic as a user who struggles on there. There will be others that don't struggle as much as me, but there will be others that probably struggle the same, if not, maybe a bit under me. But in terms of it all depends on what your content is and how often you post. They reckon that you should keep posting, often, and don't leave gaps on your profile. So don't disappear for a month and then suddenly come back on, because by that time you've already got lost, and the algorithm's got to find you again, and people might have even unfollowed you thinking that you're not around anymore. So try and be consistent. But just don't fool yourself into thinking that you're going to hit it big time straight away. It requires a lot of work, patience. But for anybody that is going to start a venture up or is currently on one, I wish you all the best of luck in the world.
On behalf of the viewers, thank you very much, Squid Hers of Squidpot in Yorkshire. And the very last question, which is always my favourite to ask everybody, is what would you say are the 5 most important values that you need as a creator or as an artist?
Consistency, patience, transparency,
okay,
authenticity, and last but not least, you're gonna have to let me think about that, or come back to me in another interview maybe, because I've just managed to reel 4 off just like that, but I'm just trying to. No, it's gone.
4 is good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 4 skin, but there's not 5 skin, so it's all good. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Squid Hers. And until next time.
Thank you very much for having the time with me and asking questions, and sorry if I've rambled on a little bit and things like that. I've tried to be as open and honest as I can. I wish everybody the best of luck in whatever they're trying to do in life, and just remember that life isn't a race. Moving forwards is always progress.
Absolutely. Always go at your own pace. And who should we compare ourselves to?
Only the yesterday's version of ourselves, to be better than we are yesterday, but tomorrow you're going to want to be better than what you were today.
Exactly. I think on that note we can end on a positive one with the song of the program. Out of fashion TV, out of fashion TV, supporting artists like you and me. Out of fashion TV.
Out of Fashion TV.